We are still to do presentations, and if you have any concerns or questions, you're welcome to speak towards the public comments portion. Also, the minutes from the March 15th, which we cannot approve at this moment, so we're going to leave that for the following.
If we do the quorum, can you pick up from this, or do I? If we do the quorum later on in the meeting, we will go back and we can vote on it then.
Okay.
Otherwise, we'll leave it for the next meeting.
Okay, sounds good. Business. Anything for old business? I'm gonna let you go ahead. He's been working on the express, working on the months. That's something that was brought up in our BPUB, and BPUB is restoring those lands, those sections of the expressway. The Boca Chica project, the Boca Chica water line project is still ongoing.
Good afternoon. My name is Marila, and I am the Director of Water Wastewater Engineering. And on the Boca Chica project, our contractor, Peterson Construction, is continuing to work on basically what is lacking now is just the side road connections to the main trunk line. He completed that, and he made a major tie-in to the McDonald's and Four Corners area. After he finishes doing a couple of more side road connect, the final thing that he will be lacking is the connection of that 16-inch water line at Owens Road intersection. But however, that is going to be collaborated because we have construction, for those that are familiar with the area. On the other end of Owens Road, it becomes 30th Street and Southmost. We have construction ongoing there. So we can't doubly impact the traffic. Once I get the contractor out of the way on the 30th Street end, then we'll allow Peterson to close off Owens and Boca Chica. And that should be worst case scenario, we hope, only like a 2-day closure. We'll have detours and so forth, but that is it's basically an easier connection. Hopefully he can do it within 24 hours and minimize it. And that pretty much ends the project. So I'm hoping that we'll be wrapping that up.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Business. Okay, we'll go to new business. And there's been updates to the Doug would like to come forward and some of the piece.
Hi, good evening. My name is Miguel Callas. I'm the Digital Information Platforms Manager. And I believe last time one of the PUBCAP members brought up having our rebate programs accessible for businesses on our website. And we have done that. We collaborated with our energy efficiency coordinator and key accounts to make that happen. So if you go to our website, you should be able to find them fairly quickly. Let's see. On the home page, 1 second. Here we go. So if you go here, we've actually added the Go Green rebate programs for residential and business. And now those rebate applications are available. We've categorized which ones are for commercial and residential as well. So that is accessible for the public now and businesses as well. Any questions?
So now businesses can just go here.
Yeah, so the rebate applications are available there. There are some requirements and guidelines that they need to follow. That's all listed on the website, and they'll be able to download the application and submit that to the appropriate department to process those.
Great. Thank you so much. We also have a wastewater tour scheduled for next month. But we have a specific date.
Yes. Let me glance at my calendar. I want to say it's the 19th. And we are going to be opening up for people to register if it's not already open. So we'll be sure to send out an invitation to all of our PUBCAP members and as well our digital media, our digital newsletter list. And y'all are welcome to come. It's an opportunity to learn a lot about the water side and the wastewater side. We'll be visiting some of our treatment plants for, again, water and wastewater. Get to see the river pumps, also get a demonstration or a presentation on the Resaca Restoration Project. And lunch is provided as well. It's a busy day, or a half day rather, but it's able to give a pretty good overview of a lot of the critical services that we provide here.
So we heard that you're welcome to sign up for that community tour coming up on the 19th. Should one, if I'm not mistaken, and essentially we receive your people. We'll give you a orientation of what you might be seeing throughout the tour. The tour does take half a day. Lunch and some breakfast items will be provided, but lunch will be provided also. And you will be driven to other areas. So as far as transportation, we will be taking you to other as soon as you're right. We do try to limit the number of people attendance during the tour for safety reasons. We are going to a lot of the plants and looking at a lot of equipment. So we do attendance to 25 people the most out of the max. So as soon as you see that invitation, we'll be posting it on Facebook and available on the website also. And so I'm not going to say it. Also, we have a business. We did receive 2 applications for our members, 2 nominations, I'm sorry, for our members. And but I should the next meeting was really required to take a vote. And start with the first presentation tonight with the Tabasco Equity Fund and Cosmos Finance Director.
I was going to introduce myself, but Claudia. That's fine. So we have presented this information to you all before. We do have some updates to our timetable, and we've also presented this at our finance committee and to our board as well. But this is a little bit of an update for you all. So just a quick reminder, the Tabasco Equity Fund, the $29 million. We have, when we issue bonds, we have a bond ordinance that governs that, and there's special covenants within the bond ordinance. And so there's this section 33L that states that if you're going to dispose of a significant or substantial part of the system, you need to go through this 4-step process. Our board made the determination that to err on the side of caution, that they wanted to follow the steps, that in their opinion, this was a significant portion. And so we're following the steps. We have already received our our final draft report from the engineering firm, Schneider Engineering, that did the analysis. So the part of the special covenants, they have to determine that it will not impair the reliability, efficiency, or availability of utility service required to be delivered to the customers of the system. And so the report from Schneider does conclude or does determine that this disbursement of the $29 million in Ask Equity Fund will not impair our ability to provide a utility service to our customers. So that's good. And we then also have to meet with the rating agencies. Our CFO then has to certify that based on the information as well from the engineering report, one of the other covenants in our bond ordinance is that we have to meet a certain level of debt service coverage. And so it's kind of similar to your mortgage payment. So when we have outstanding bonds, we have annual payments of principal and interest, and we have to meet that. We have to have funds available to cover those debt service payments 1.25 times. So our CFO has to certify that dispersing this money will not impair our ability to meet our debt service coverage requirements for the bond ordinance. And so that has also been determined through the study that Schneider Engineering did as well. And then the other component of this is that we have to go to rating agencies. We had one call today with Standard & Poor's. We have calls scheduled for tomorrow with Fitch and Moody's. So those are the three rating agencies that have any agency that has rated any bonds that we currently have outstanding, any senior bonds. So those are the three rating agencies. They all have to provide an opinion. We have received commitments from them that they will give us their letters, their opinions by next Friday, by April the 28th. And so we have a special board meeting. We did have a delay. So I'm sorry, let me back up a little bit. Our original time frame showed that we were going to do a special board meeting on April the 18th and take it to the city commission at their regular meeting on April 18th. We had some delays with the engineering report. And we also had some delays getting the rating agencies. There's a lot of things going on in their segment of the business. And so they were not available until this week to have these meetings with us and give us their letters in time. So we did have to delay the timetable by about 2 weeks. But we are scheduled, we are on track, and we will have those letters from the rating agencies by next Friday. We have a board meeting, special board meeting that will be called for May the 1st. Approve a resolution accepting the report of the engineering firm and accepting the certification from our CFO and requesting that the city commission also pass a resolution. And so their regularly scheduled commission meetings are the first and third Tuesdays of the month. So May 2nd is a regularly scheduled city commission meeting. We will be taking our board approved resolution to them and ask for them to approve their own resolution, accepting the findings of the report and the actions by the rating agencies and the certification of our CFO. So we did have to delay the process by 2 weeks, but we are on track with this modified timetable. Unfortunately, there were some things that were out of our control with the rating agencies. You know, we were kind of on their timetable, and so this was the quickest we could get them to take their actions for us. So we unfortunately did have a 2-week delay, but we are still on track for everything else. And one other thing that I did not include in the presentation, but at their board meeting last week, our board approved the addition of the interest that was earned on the $29 million to add that to the pool of money available to refund back to our customers. So per our bond ordinance, per our bond covenants, the interest that those $29 million are sitting in our improvement fund or capital improvement fund. The earnings on that money do not stay in the improvement fund. They go into the plant fund, and that funds operations and maintenance and other expenses. They don't stay with the funds. So we were not obligated to keep the interest with the $29 million, but our board voted to add the interest earned. It was a little bit over $2 million earned on the $29 million. From that, the city gets their 10% transfer. So that left PUB a net amount of $1,874,350, which we have added to the $29 million. So that pool of money to the customers that will be refunded to the customers has gone up to $30,874,350. So that's good news. A little bit more money. And we do have a joint subcommittee meetings scheduled for next week with the city commission. There's 2 city commissioners, 2 PUB board members, and the mayor that have a joint subcommittee. And they have a meeting scheduled for next week, and they will be discussing the methodology for the disbursement of the monies and, you know, the next steps from there. That's where we stand right now on the distribution of the Tenasc Equity Fund. Are there any questions? No? Okay.
Seems like everything's going good. You're on
Yes,
track.
we're on track. Thank you.
Sounds good.
Thank you. Next up, we have the drought conditions update.
Hello, PUBCAP members. Good evening. My name is Guadalupe Garcia. I'm the Water Resources Administrator for Brownsville PUB. And this evening, I'll be going over the drought updates. So I want to start this evening by just giving a grand overview of the Rio Grande watershed that you can see there in gray. That watershed encompasses about a 50-50 into the Mexico and United States borders. And there's 2 specific locations that I want to kind of review. They're circled in red. That's the Amistad and Falcon reservoirs. Those reservoirs do hold the water for both the United States and Mexico that gets used here within the Rio Grande Valley. And that warrantly, on April 8th of 2023, the U.S. combined ownership of Amistad Falcon stood at 27.3% of normal conservation capacity. That's below from what it was last year at 33.7%. And the river is really important. We get 69% of our water from the Rio Grande River. So these 2 reservoirs and the U.S. storage capacity within them are very, very important for our water production.
Excuse me, you said it was lower this year than last year, but what is like the average, like what should it be at? What number should it be at? Like what % should the reservoir like?
So there's no normal of kind of what it's supposed to be like. Of course, if it's closer to the 100% in capacity, it'll be much better.
So they just compare it from like last year to right now?
Correct.
Basically.
Correct. Yes, so at
Yeah.
full storage capacity, we would have 100%. So right now, we do have 27% of
So
that
that's
100.
considered low.
That's low, yes, very low. Now, these are some trends going back from 2021 till present. So back in 2021, we did start the year at 27.5%. As you can see, the trends, the 2021 year in yellow, 22 in red, and our current 2023 year in green there. We are trending and getting lower and lower in water percentage or water storage in our reservoirs. We started off the year at 32.3%. In the span of 3 months, we have decreased that percentage by 5%, bringing us to 27.3. Last year, we did stage 2 triggers are at 25% or less right here. So that was during the summer of last year. We did dip it down to the lowest we've been in history since 2000 and 2001. And that's at 20.7%. So it is looking like we're trending down to our stage 2 of drought conservation. This slide here does show kind of some from the U.S. It's a U.S. seasonal drought model. So what it's looking like here for the trends for April 1st through June 30th of this year, it's looking like we here in our area, right, the drought remains, but it's predicted to improve. our reservoirs are located over here on the, where it's stating that the drought will persist. So that is not good for us, as that does diminish the amount of water we'll be having in our reservoirs moving forward, unless we get a good rain event in the watershed area, which you saw there in gray in the previous slides. So right now we are operating on the 2019 drought contingency plan. This plan does get renewed and looked at every 5 years. So currently we are in the middle of reviewing this drought contingency plan for our resubmittal in 2024. Right. So, but with this, within this plan, the purpose of it is to conserve and limit water demand, to minimize the impacts of water sources or other emergencies, and also to manage the available water resources. So the applicability of it applies to everybody that does use water from Brownsville PUB. And that also includes the water from the Resaca systems. And so this does not apply to the wastewater reuse systems, gray water, or other sources other than is provided by Brownsville PUB. So this plan is specifically for customers and for customers that do use Brownsville PUB water. So the authority, it is, like I mentioned, BPUB, we do look at the plan, we set the guidelines, the criterias for implementation, and then the BPUB general manager and CEO and the Brownsville mayor, they decide on these plans, the stages, and also to terminate the stages as well. And I'll be going over further here for the drought response stages. So stage one is a voluntary stage. That's whenever we're below 51%. As I mentioned before, since 2021, we've been below 51%. And 21, we started the year at 47%. So that is just a voluntary stage, and pretty much the public, it's voluntary for them to conserve water. The trigger for stage two, that is restrictions. We are now putting, if we are below 25, at or below 25% in water conservation, which we're trending and possibly being there by the end of the next month. So this is very important on the restrictions side. We do how to conserve water, when you're able to use water, and I'll be reviewing stage one and stage two here further in some slides. Stage three, we do apply some surcharges just to kind of, if you're allotted a certain amount of water, once you go past that limit amount of water, there are going to be surcharges associated to those values. And we also do encompass stage one and stage two restrictions. Stage four, that's when we have a major emergency. Pumps are not able to get impacted by a hurricane, a natural disaster, a man-made disaster. We just don't have a lot of water. That's when we start getting to the public and letting them know we have to ration the water just because of this cost. So just wanted to go a little bit over stage one. Stage one is a voluntary water conservation. So it's just to achieve voluntary water reduction, just to limit the amount of water use. This is initiated in May 1st and it ends in September 30th of each year. However, since we've been below that 51%, this has been, these dates right now, as of now, they don't apply because we've just been below that 51% for a stage one trigger. And that's what you can see here in this slide. U.S. water stored in reservoirs reaches 51% or lower. And then we do have these other triggers here. They really don't get enacted frequently, but nevertheless, they're there just in case. And that's for Water Master. That's a state how water works like a bank account. The state has they're the bank. We are given a certain amount of, we'll say points, right? Which is that we're able to get from the, and they pretty much let them know we want to get this amount of water from the river, and they, as a bank, they're saying, yes, you have that amount, or no, you can't, you have to reduce it. So the water master, there, that's the state. So we're in contact with them daily or weekly basis. So stage 2 triggers, this is for US reservoir storage levels, so they're below 25%. Or again, if the state tells us you don't have enough water or anything like that, we do apply stage 2. But the main factor here that's the most relevant is this 25%. We're at 27 currently, and it's looking like we're trending towards that 25% probably by the end of next month. That's if we don't get any water in our reservoirs, like rain or anything like that. So stage 2 can be terminated if any of the conditions from the previous slide cease to exist for a span of 3 consecutive days. But stage 1 will still remain unless, stage 1 triggers do cease to exist for 3 consecutive days as well. So what are the restrictions that we're looking at here for what looks like the near future? So one of the restrictions is landscape irrigation. That's going to be allowed it only twice a week. And that is based on the last digit of your address. So if your last digit of your address ends in a 0 or a 1, you will be allowed to use water between midnight and 7 a.m. And this is for landscape irrigation, midnight and 7 a.m. and or 7 p.m. and midnight. That is within the Monday. Does not mean that you're able to use the water from 7 p.m. overnight and continue using it through midnight and 7 a.m. for the next day. No, this is just for that one day. Right, so like I mentioned, it depends on your address numbers. And all of this information, it is in our plan, and that plan is provided to the general public at any point. Another one is landscape irrigation with handheld garden hoses, soaker hoses. That is allowed as of this plan, the 2019 plan. You're allowed to use that at any time. New landscaping, right? You did a new landscape, or businesses that do new landscapes. In order for you to be irrigating it, because they do require for you to irrigate it either every other day or every day, just because they're new plants, you are going to have to apply for a variance with Brownsville PUBCAP. And that is given for 4 weeks, and you can apply twice for a total of 8 weeks total.
Excuse me. So what about the homeowners who have resaca lots and that irrigate through the resaca? How does that come into play?
So
You know what I'm saying? There's some people that use their.
yeah, so water using pumps from resacas are something that we'll also be looking at coming into stage 3 specifically. Once we hit,
People use that
once we hit stage 3, nobody can take out water from resacas at all.
at all.
At
Okay.
all.
So
Yeah.
that would be during stage.
During
3.
stage 3, yes. Right now, stage 2, we do recommend, because that water is coming from our water system, we do recommend that the times, the addresses and the days that you're able to use it per address to still still be.
Okay.
Yes. So washing of motor vehicles is prohibited except on watering days and times, so like the addresses. And, that will include any type of motor vehicle. And you are able to wash them during 12 a.m. to 10 a.m. on that designated day, or 7 p.m. to 12 a.m. So if you're using a car wash, you are allowed to do so during this 2019 plan. Exemptions do exist. Let's say it's a garbage truck or anything having to do with human health. Vehicles, you are allowed to wash them at any time. Non-essential water uses, pretty much you washing any hard surface, sidewalks, parking lots, tennis courts, etc. You're not allowed to do so. Washing buildings or structures for purposes other than immediate fire protection or in preparation for those are the only times you are allowed. And you can see there further non-essential water use prohibited. So water use, golf courses also are impacted in this. So we do look at them pretty much how for them, they're big water users. So how can they reduce the amount of water they're using without impacting their day-to-day business? And of course, the last one, restaurants are prohibited from serving water to customers unless the customer does request it. So pretty much bottom line, so the storage levels from Falcon and Amistad, we're looking at that they are declining. Right now it's peak agricultural season. What does that mean? They're releasing more water. There are more farmers watering their agricultural fields. So we're going to see that dip pretty quick on our reservoirs, just because that we currently are in. Stage 2 triggers are more than likely, like I mentioned, we're looking at it towards the end of next month. That's if we don't get any rain or inflows into the reservoirs. Like I mentioned, we're finalizing water conservation and drought contingency plan updates, and that's going to be the update that we're going to be submitting for next year. And right now, the Brownsville PUB communications and PR departments, they are accelerating the water conservation and drought outreach towards the public. And that does conclude my presentation. If you do have any questions, feel free.
Thank you, Mr. Garcia.
So actually, I wanted to just add, if you could explain the difference between someone just running water and washing their car versus car washes. Big difference in that.
Yeah, so looking at numbers, and we are currently going over and reviewing numbers as far as how much water is used at car washes rather than what we would normally consume, right, at your house washing your car. The average is about 100 gallons per vehicle using it at your house, right? That's not having the proper equipment to actually wash your vehicle. That's just turning on the hose, watering, spraying down the car and washing it that way. We use quite a bit of water, and a car wash, what they call a soft wash, you're probably looking about 35 gallons per vehicle. So it's quite a bit of reduction using the proper equipment. Right, in this case, car washes rather than at your home. But we're currently reviewing those numbers, and that's something that we're going to take into consideration as we're developing and kind of updating our new plan for 2024.
So you're saying 35 gallons per vehicle in a car wash?
Correct. And it depends on what type of car wash as well. Yeah.
So I have seen around the city, like they're opening car washes like every corner. And,
correct.
And
yeah.
the other concern that I see is like they have like a special, you can wash them every day, anytime, and so many times a day. So are we looking into put like a restriction on them when this we're going into an emergency situation?
That's something that we're currently looking at, and we're also in communication with the city of Brownsville in regards to those possible restrictions or looking towards that trend.
Those PUB look into when they open us, like given, I don't know, maybe given a license or something like that, making sure that they are using the right equipment, the most advanced equipment to minimize the use of water.
Yeah, so that's also something we're looking towards, this new plan. We're looking at other cities around in the state of Texas or within the United States, kind of what they're doing, some, programs that they have in regards to those items that you just mentioned, and how we can implement them here for the city of Brownsville as well. Any further questions?
Thank you, Mr. Garcia.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have springtime safety and conservation.
Okay, good evening, everyone. I'm happy that Guadalupe went before me because he was able to get some of the heavy lifting done out of the way for me, explaining a little bit the drought side of it. But this evening, I'm going to talk to y'all a little bit about ways that you can be safe during the springtime and also save yourself some water as well. So first off, spring is officially here. In the Northern Hemisphere, spring officially began this year on March 20th. Something that we have definitely seen, not just here in Brownsville, but nationwide, is the pandemic really brought a fresh interest in gardening and also getting out and being more active. And so right now is a time when we're going to see increase in landscaping activity, which is why it's important this time of year that we try to go over this presentation for people. So first off, we want to look at safety because that's probably the most critical thing for our customers. We want to make sure that if they're working, that they are able to stay safe. So what people may not realize is that we do have a lot of dangers hidden just below our feet. We have underground lines that can be right under our feet when we're working working at home. So those underground lines can be a big hazard to gardeners who are out digging. Hitting one of those lines can result in a service interruption, a bill for damages, injuries, and depending on the line and the circumstances, even death. The 811 says that on average, every 9 minutes, an underground utility is damaged by someone who didn't use 811. Those are a lot of potential interruptions or injuries that can be easily prevented. So why would you call 811? So as I mentioned, there are a lot of potential hazards under our feet, and this color coding will kind of tell you what 811 is looking for when they come out to a property. You can see the red color represents electric. You've got yellow for gas, oil, or steam. Brown is telephone or television. Blue, water. Green is for sewer. This is kind of lavender. Temporary service survey markings. White for proposed excavation. So, well, when do you need to call 811? So Texas law does require that homeowners contact 811 I say at least 2 business days, excluding weekends and holidays before digging, even if you're working in your own backyard. So if you're building or repairing a fence, planting a tree, installing a sprinkler system, installing building a deck for your yard, essentially any chore or maintenance that requires digging, you should call 811 beforehand. That also extends to any contractor that you might have performing work at your property. It's the contractor's responsibility to contact 811 2 days, again, 2 days prior to digging. So that's something that if you have work that you're getting done with a contractor, make sure that you communicate with them and make sure that they're notifying 811 before anything begins. So something that I think is really important to emphasize is that 811 is a free service. And it's a free service to both homeowners and businesses. So commercial entities, they are equally responsible for ensuring that those lines below us stay safe as well. So again, whether you're a homeowner or a business, you should call two business days before digging. And again, just want to emphasize essentially any type of digging that you do in your yard, we would recommend calling 811. And here in this picture, you can kind of get an indication of what 811 does when they go out to a site. You might remember the different colors that we saw that represents different things. This, you can see blue, which would be water lines. You also see the red, which would be electric. And if anyone is doing work in that area, then they can see specifically where these lines are located and avoid these areas. So April is National Safe Digging Month. We have shared some information on social media about this already this month, but it's a good reminder as people are getting back out and starting to get active in the yard to remind people, again, 811 is a free service and we want to make sure that people stay safe. But we have more than just lines below our feet. We also have potential hazards lurking above us. So again, as spring arrives, trees start waking up. Sometimes they're dormant, or just when spring comes, they start waking up really quickly. So all of a sudden, a tree can grow very, very quickly in a very short amount of time. And those branches, especially if they are near power lines, can be a significant hazard and can frequently cause service interruptions. I say frequently only because I know a lot of the service interruptions that we do end up having or experiencing here, very often it's attributable to say the most frequent offender is palm fronds making contact with power lines. So I do want to emphasize that this photo was not taken from our service territory, but it shows kind of potential issues that could happen and wanting to stay ahead of them. So you know, we do proactively use a tree trimming service. We go to areas where there are known problems with service interruptions caused by trees and make sure to trim regularly there. We also do more when we know that there are potential weather risks. You know, if we know that there's a storm coming that's going to have strong winds, again, we try to hit up these areas that have had issues in the past. In addition, we also have a traded tree program that can also benefit homeowners with these near power lines. So as I mentioned, we do contract with someone for the tree trimming program. That's ABC Professional Tree Services. We do target problem areas, but it is also a free service for our customers that if they have a tree near a primary or secondary service line, that we would ask that they call, report it to us so that we can get with ABC and they can go out and trim those trees. Being so near a power line, we want to make sure that our customers stay safe and that people who have experience doing that kind of work are the ones who are handling it. So I mentioned our traded tree program. what this does is it targets specific trees that are near primary service lines that could be causing an issue. And yeah, as kind of the name of the program would indicate, it's simply an ability to be able to trade out and swap a problem tree for a native. BPUB will work with the city of Brownsville to come out, remove the tree, clean up any resulting debris, and provide that native tree replacement. There are a couple of rules and guidelines that must be followed. The tree needs to be an appropriate distance from the power line to not cause an issue, or the tree that's selected, the plant that's selected needs to be small enough size so that it would not in the future cause an issue with the service line. So with the safety aspect complete, I wanted to go into a little bit more on what some of the things that we can do to conserve water at home. So as the previous presenter discussed, drought conditions are persisting in our area. Water supply is definitely an issue that we're keeping our eye on. And as we get into spring and as summer is getting closer and much warmer temperatures, it's important to know that in urban areas, about 25% of the water supply is used to water landscapes and gardens. That's a significant amount of water. And so any education that we can provide or some tips or tricks that can reduce that is going to be a major benefit, especially as our water supply in the reservoirs is shrinking. And then in summer, as much as 60% of the water the average household uses may be for landscape maintenance. So let's look into some ways that we can start to reduce. I'd say one of the first things to do is to try to plan ahead your landscape. Kind of think about what plants you want in there and how to arrange them. So the ideal would be to plant things with similar water needs together. You don't want to plant a tree that requires a lot of water right next to a cactus that doesn't require hardly any. Because that you're using right next to that cactus is kind of being wasted. You know, if you are able to put things that have higher needs together, then you're able to be more efficient and not have to focus as much on the plants that don't require as much water. Also, look into ways that you can maybe reduce the turf that you have in your home. Obviously, any bit of lawn or grass that isn't there is some that doesn't need to be watered. So, things that people can potentially do or that I've seen done would be to like add a rock garden, add a deck or other types of items that will essentially take up some of that space that would normally be reserved for grass. Kind of a little bit off from the landscaping, but important to mention is to add cover to your swimming pools. By having a cover over it, it's going to reduce the amount of water that is lost to evaporation. So you're not going to have to add as much to refill your pool as well. And then also plant in the right times. So spring is a really good time to install new plants. We get a little bit more rain, at least, certainly more than what we tend to get in the summer, which is a benefit. But also we do not have nearly as hot of temperatures yet. So since it's not as hot, these plants don't require as much water. And since you're planting them before the brutal heat of our summer, it gives them some time to get established and won't hopefully as much of a shock when the heat actually comes. Also, it's good to look at native plants as something to add to your garden. Native plants are going to be more adapted to the environment, which ultimately means less water is going to be needed. I've mentioned the heat that we have down here. It also means that they're going to be more adapted to the heat and be able to handle that well. Being from down here, they're also going to be better equipped to handle the pests, the insects that are down here. They're going to be a little bit more resilient. And if you do have some non-natives that you have in your garden or that you want to plant in your garden, having the native plants nearby helps act as a kind of bait crop to keep pests off of the other plants. The idea being that like these insects, they're more accustomed to the native plants. They know what to go after because that's what they're more used to. So those pests will go more toward the natives, leave the other plants alone, and your native plants already have more resiliency against the native pests as well, so they can withstand it better. And since we're talking about insects, it also brings more beneficial insects into the area. So it'll attract more pollinators, things like butterflies, wasps, bees that can help a lot and help control pests in the garden as well. And something that definitely surprised me was after the winter storm from a couple of years ago, a lot of the plants that perked up or recovered the quickest were the natives, which I was actually surprised about. I figured because it was so cold, so unusually cold, that a lot of those native plants wouldn't be able to survive. But I actually saw the opposite. They were able to recover much quicker and be much stronger after the freezes that we have experienced. So it was already kind of mentioned in the previous presentation, but it's also good to keep the times that you water in mind. Watering at certain times a day, it's going to be much more efficient than other times a day. Specifically, what you want to look at is watering either early in the morning or at the end of the day. If you go out and you water, say, at 1 p.m., where it tends to be the hottest, you've got the sun right out, what happens is because of the heat, you lose a lot of water to evaporation. It's not able to really sink into the soil and really soak through. And so you're losing a lot, but you're having to use a lot more too to try to give your plant everything that it needs. Also, try to look at watering more infrequently, but more thoroughly. So by that, I would say instead of a little bit every day, maybe water twice a week, but for a longer period, so that water is able to really soak into the soil, get into the roots. And by watering more infrequently, but again, more thoroughly, it's going to be able to strengthen that root system a lot more. Also, look at optimizing sprinkler locations. I'm sure we've all driven around or walked around the neighborhood and seen someone with like one sprinkler head that's shooting into the street, or into the driveway, or one's maybe broken and is just kind of dribbling. You want to make sure that those sprinkler locations are in spots where they're not going to be cleaning the driveway. They're going to be going to the yard. Make sure you optimize and make the most use of all of that water. And if there are any repairs that are necessary for specifically a sprinkler system, you want to make sure to repair those as quickly as possible. And also look into potentially other forms of irrigation. For instance, drip irrigation is going to be more efficient than having like a sprinkler that's going. Or I'd say especially more of like your traditional sprinklers. So along those lines, it's not a bad idea to invest some in water conservation. For instance, a permanent irrigation system would be a very good use of funds for efficiency in your water use. Also, look into little things like adding mulch. Where by putting that mulch in, it's able to better hold the water, which means that ultimately you're going to end up having to water less. And then probably the easiest little investment that you can make is just to get a timer and make sure that you use that timer every time you set your sprinkler. I know I've been guilty. I'm hoping everyone else has been guilty one time or another of, you're at home and then you go, oh my gosh, I forgot about the sprinkler. I left it on. So I know I have an Amazon Echo at home, and I tend to say it's like the most expensive kitchen timer that I've ever bought, because I pretty much mainly use it for a timer, and it's really useful whenever I set my sprinkler outside to come in. I need my timer for my water. Remind me to set it off. Also, don't be afraid to ask for help. There are a lot of good resources out there. In particular, the Cameron County Extension Office is a great resource to getting to know more about the native plants in the area and how best to take care of them. And pretty much all of the pictures that were in this conservation section are native plants. So there are a lot of great native plants out there that can brighten up a landscape. With that, anyone have any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you.
All right, so public comments. If you'd like to speak, you approach the microphone and speak directly to the and we do upload them to our YouTube channel so you can check them out later.
Good afternoon, board members. We're here from an organization, nonprofit called the Children Bereavement Center. And we just want to spread some of the good news that we do in the community. We're valley-wide. I live here in Brownsville, just lived down the street, attended Egley Elementary, Oliveira Middle School. I've seen the growth of the PUB here in our community. I'm proud to serve on this board that provides free counseling to children between the ages of 3 years old to 23 that have suffered a death in the family. We're looking for help in the community to provide philanthropy and support to our cause. I was directed to come here by a friend of mine, and I believe he's a board chair of PUB, Patricio Sampaio. We just want to spread the word about what we do. During the past 18 months, 2 years when COVID hit our community, we saw a rise of a lot of incidents where children came seeking counseling. And with the tight budget that we had, we provided a free service to the community. We serviced from Stark County, Hidalgo, Cameron, Willacy, all with a handful of counselors. And for that moment, I'd like to introduce Ernest Espinosa, our Executive Director, who can speak a little bit more about the organization.
Thank you. Thank you, Sergio. Basically, we're an organization that's been around since 2017. We started with this small center with 2 counselors, and now we have 2 owners. Interns, it's just not enough. So we're here to ask for help.
Excuse me, where are y'all located?
We have 1 center. The first one we started in Harlingen, which services Cameron County.
Okay.
The second center we just opened up 3 months ago in McAllen.
Okay.
We are looking for a facility also in Brownsville. The biggest obstacle for us is rent. In McAllen, the Presbyterian local church in downtown, next to the IPC Bank, provided the whole campus. Basically, they shut down their elementary and gave us the whole building to provide counseling services in about 20 rooms, right? In Harlingen, we lease there, and it's a challenge getting rent to pay for the facility. And if there's, we can find in Brownsville that can house us, we'll be here.
How do you get your awareness out there? Like, what do you use? Do you do through social media? Because this is the first time I've ever heard of it.
Yes, and that's a very good question. We try to reach the local schools. Counselors within the schools provide recommendation for their students to come. We resonate in the community by talking to local churches. Our counselors are themselves have a network of families that gravitate to them. And Ernest?
Thank you, Sergio. We do work directly with the schools and the ISDs, and we actually do Grief Education Institute training for many of the school systems. Actually, they come to us for trainings in grief counseling. So we have a direct link to them, and anytime there's a child that loses somebody, their counselors basically say.
So you have counselors full-time, or are they part-time, or are they full-time?
We have 6 full-time counselors right now.
Okay.
Then we're also looking for 4 part-time counselors, and we right now have 10 interns. The interns, we give them hours, and they do free service for us also.
Okay. I think that's a wonderful cause that y'all are doing. That's awesome.
Thank you.
It's a great asset to the valley, to the community. So that's awesome.
Thank you very much.
Is there anybody else from the public who would like to make a comment? Go. Sure, just.
I guess I'll just ask the questions and then maybe they can come up and answer. Monica, the first question will be for you. You mentioned that if I'm understanding you correctly, that the CFO has already certified or he is in the process. Okay, so he has not certified yet that we're able to release the 29 million as, you know, within the debt
That will be done this week.
this week?
See the final report.
Okay.
in. That should be done this week.
Okay. And then you mentioned that your meeting, you met today with one of the rate crediting agencies and the two will be tomorrow. Okay,
Today was Standard and Poor's, and tomorrow we meet with Fitch and
thank you. And then, I'm sorry, I didn't catch the gentleman's name that was talking about the drought.
Mr. Garcia. Yes.
Mr. Garcia?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Garcia, I have a question related to a follow-up on the car washes. Do they recycle or is there a requirement that they recycle? Mm-hmm.
So currently we do have 27 getting a program started with the city, and we're currently in talks with the city of Brownsville, which they're the ones that authorize the business permits, right? To see if we can get a program that can increase that percentage.
Okay, and is that 27% of each of the total car washes that recycle?
Or total car washes.
Okay, so there is no minimum requirement from the city that they recycle, like a certain portion or anything like that, that you know?
There currently isn't, and that's where we're in communication with them and talks and trying to get this program started.
Okay, and if we do go into that second or third tier where we have to follow the guidelines for preservation of the water, do you anticipate that the car washes will be restricted a number of cars that they will be able to allow every day, or will there be a possible closure during that time?
We're currently in communication with the city and what way we can go about this, because of course we do have, you're talking about livelihoods and businesses, right? So we're in communication with the city and see what, in what direction we can take.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else from the public who would like to make a comment? I want to thank you for coming to our PUBCAP meeting. It's the Wednesday of each month. On this meeting is on the 17th. So welcome to the community tour. I strongly encourage you to apply so that you can take this tour into our facilities. They're private, most of these areas because of the critical infrastructure. So this will be a behind the scenes look at all the work that goes into gathering water from the river to putting it in the reservoir. So you look at all of that, and the water is treated because we do own plants as well, our own treatment plants, our own wastewater treatment plants also. So we're going to take a look at the water and wastewater side of BPUB. And it's really exciting. If you can, please spread the word to the community once we put the information out there so that they can visit this. Thank you. This I'm sorry. It's 6:40. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.